AI, they are
Yeah, I
really,
need to make a...
really easy to farm. All you need to do is aggravate one of them, and
Oh,
then
I don't
all of
need...
the other ones come running
I
right to
don't need
you.
to...
That means essentially the only thing you need to farm these things is a safe
I have a pigment
box,
farm, it's
and
better.
that is what this thing is. We'll start by building this farm, and then I'll do a demo at the end of this segment. Now, to build the zombie pigment farm, you will need 12 walls and 9 slabs. I definitely recommend using cobblestone or something that can't be blown up by gas. You'll also need probably at least 4 ladders. You could use maybe a little bit more, and then you'll want a single trapdoor. You will also probably want to have a lot of extra slabs on hand so you can block spawns inside of something that we're going to build underneath this farm. But that part, that's technically optional. Now, with this build, location is everything. To get the best rates out of the zombie pigment farm, you want to build the farm in a flat, open area. This farm is built in, honestly, the perfect location. I got really lucky with this nether. If your nether isn't this flat or open, that's okay. It doesn't need to be, but you just need somewhere that is at least a little flat and a little open. Once you've found where you want to build your farm, go to about the middle of it and place a trapdoor. Then open the trapdoor. Now you'll want to dig down a couple blocks. I recommend going down like 4 blocks and then placing ladders so you can go down. Go down into this room and carefully dig it out. You want to make a room below your farm where you can kind of go to for safety if things start to go wrong. This room can be as big or small as you like, it doesn't matter. But I do recommend placing slabs on the floor so zombie pigmen don't spawn inside of it. Once you aggro a single zombie pigman, a bunch of them will become angry, and if they spawn down here, well, you won't have anywhere safe. So consider placing a slab floor. I highly recommend. After you set up your room, go back up to the surface, to the top of this thing, and close your trapdoor, then stand on it. Now, all around the trapdoor, you want to place wall blocks, so you have something that looks like this. On each corner, place another wall, so you have your corners built up. Now, jump up and place a slab on top of each corner wall that goes up to start setting up your roof.
It's a lot
After
of
you've got all the
lava right
corners done,
there.
fill
I wonder
everything
what's on
else
the
in,
other
so
side.
you have something that looks exactly like
I
this.
should have brought some
Boom.
water.
That's it. Now we need a way out of this farm. So there's a few
Oh
options here.
well.
If you're insanely crazy and brave, replace a wall with a fence gate and just exit this farm like this when you're done, but that's highly dangerous. The smarter idea would be making a long hallway that goes off to somewhere, again putting slabs on the floor, then putting a ladder at the end of it, and it goes up to the surface, then another trapdoor on top of the ladder, and then you can exit your farm that way. But definitely make that hallway a little bit longer than I made here. Now, if you are really dedicated, the safest way to exit this farm is a nether portal. If you make a hallway down a ways and then place a nether portal and link it up to somewhere in the overworld, that would be the safest way to get out of this farm. How I have it set up down here, zombie pigmen will not be spawning. I will be safe until I exit this farm out here, and I just wouldn't ever do that. So if you're up for it, do it this way. This is definitely the safest way
I think
to
I'll
do
leave
it.
this part open.
Using this thing is really easy,
I may
but
come
I
back
definitely recommend that you have some
pour
armor.
water in there.
Probably at least iron too, because zombie pigmen are strong. So go into the nether with a bow, some arrows, a sword, and that armor. Go over to your farm.
Alright, we
Right-click
just
at the
gotta
top
go
of it, then
300
close the
more
trapdoor and stand
blocks.
right on the middle. And the middle is important. Make sure you're right on the center. Then go ahead and take your
Pop
bow
up.
and shoot one of the
Say
zombie
pop
pigmen.
goes the
All of the
weasel.
zombie pigmen in the general area are going to get mad. If you're right on the middle, though, they won't be able to hit you. They'll just surround you like this,
Oh, it's dark, it's dangerous.
yeah, not really a problem at all. Then you can go ahead and use your sword and pick these guys off from safety. Now the experience will go right over to you. It'll find its way. But the drops, that is unfortunately not really the case. If you want the drops from this farm, you'll have to make your way out of it eventually once the coast is cleared to pick those things up. Now zombie pigmen also drop quite a bit of experience, which makes this farm really nice early on. Maybe you're just
I don't know
getting
how I got
enchanting
so hooked
and you
on
need
this
the
game
levels.
particularly.
Well, this is definitely the way to go. Like 100%.
I
There's
did.
like no effort required for this thing,
I
and
mean,
the level output, it's pretty good.
just breaking
Now, the
blocks
one
here.
thing is that this is built in the nether, and that means ghasts will be spawning, like that guy right there. And they can shoot you and mess things up if you don't build this out of cobblestone or something that can't be blown up. If there is a ghast nearby, use your bow to get rid of it, or just go into your safety chamber and maybe wait for it to despawn. That could take a while, but that's an option. If anything the zombie pigmen or anything, use your trapdoor to get away. If you're standing right on the middle and you open it up, you will start to drop down. So
yeah,
easy
there's a lot
getaway.
of danger over
And
here.
that is just about the easiest zombie pigman farm that you can make. And the second farm on our list today. So next up, take a look at this crop farm. What do you think? I mean, I know it's not much. It's simple. It's just a wheat farm. Now, take a look at this crop farm. It's a little more organized, a little fancier, and it's not only wheat, right? Well, what if I told you that I planted both of these farms at pretty much the same time? Would you believe me? Well, I hope you would, because that is exactly what I did. So I planted these farms at about the same time, but one of these farms, this one over here, is clearly a lot closer to being ready to be harvested. What's the deal here? Well, I'm using a few game tricks to actually make this crop farm a lot more efficient than this one is over here. So obviously, early game, you need to set up a food farm. That's seriously really, really obvious. Now, if you weren't
food
lucky
is
and you didn't end up spawning
survival.
by sweet berries, you're probably going to have to go with something else. Wheat is okay. Potatoes are even better. If you can find at least 2 crops in your world early on, this is going to be the farm for you. And I have a feeling that this is where maybe some of you guys who have played for longer might learn something, actually. So our standard early game Minecraft crop farm requires 3 things. It requires a hoe, it requires some water, and then it requires
a
seeds.
hoe.
This crop farm requires a little bit more. To get this crop farm up and running properly, you'll need 2 different types of crops, a hoe, and then again some water. You might also want to have some shears, some extra dirt blocks, a campfire, a beehive, and then some flowers. But these things down here, these are technically optional. You only really need the things on the top of the chest. Now, where do you build this farm? Well, of course, you build it near water. It could be a river, it could be a lake, it could be an ocean, it could be in the middle of the land if you have an iron bucket. But assuming you don't, find a body of water and then make a straight edge on it. So something like this. If you have sand, replace that sand with dirt, because you can't plant anything on sand. Now, after that, take a hoe and start tilling the land. Turn all of the land within 4 blocks of the shore into plantable farmland. Alright, so now we have this, and that means it's time to plant our crops. Now, Minecraft crops actually grow faster when they are planted in alternating rows. Now, why? I wouldn't be able to tell you, but it's just how it works. So if you plant your crops in rows, like I'm doing here, and switch between 2 different ones, it doesn't have to be wheat and potatoes. It could be like potatoes and carrots, or wheat and maybe beetroot for some reason if you want beetroot. But so long as you have alternating rows, your crop growth will be sped up. But that's not the only thing that we can do to speed up crop growth. If you're into making your crops grow really, really fast, get your hands on a beehive, because it's 1.15 after all. Place some beehives on the water side of your crop farm, and then find some flowers and place them on the land side of your farm, and then bring some bees over to this thing. Now, I've got, I think, 2 bees over here. They must be inside of their house right now, and I actually found them over there in the plains biome. I led them over here with some flowers. So you could do something like that, or you could use leaves, or you could even just silk touch a bee nest. It doesn't really matter, but bring bees over to this thing and let them do their thing. So long as you have enough beehives and enough flowers, the bees will actually stay near this thing. You don't need to build any walls around it at all. When the pollinated bees fly over your crops, they will actually speed the crop growth up quite a bit, and that's definitely something that you should take advantage of if your crops are growing really, really slow. Now, to finish everything off, add a campfire by your farm and then use it to cook up your potatoes for some really, really good early game food. Just remember that you need to wait for the food to cook at the campfire. Don't walk away, or you might lose it. It'll drop on the ground and it'll be bad.
You can cook
Set up
potatoes?
a farm like this in your world, and in no time you are going to be thriving, because this is going to be really good, especially if you're going with baked potatoes early on. Baked potatoes are a great early game food. They're even better than sweet berries.
Can you cook potatoes in this game?
If you know me, you saw this coming. Early game must-have number 4
today
is gotta be a mob crusher farm. Now, today we're going to talk about mob crushers that are for cows, sheep, or for pigs. It doesn't matter, any of those 3 mobs, but this is something that you need in your world. If you've never built one of these, you're really missing out. You should seriously, just don't come to the idea of this thing
3209, and we gotta
now,
go
these things are really cheap to
3388.
build. To build a single crusher,
We're
you'll need
almost
a water
there.
bucket, a fence, a chest, a hopper, a staircase, and then 7 building blocks. But you might want to have a little bit more than 7 so you can make the thing look good and so you have some temporary blocks to build with.
But I'm gonna
Now
have
to
to go
get the
get
thing
some
up
more
and running,
railroad.
you'll need either some sheep, some pigs, or some cows, and then food to breed those mobs. So if you're doing pigs, you need carrots, and if you're doing cows or sheep,
Oh,
you'll need
that's disgusting.
again extra building blocks. We'll start off with a demo. This is a cow crusher farm. To use the thing, go up to it with some wheat, and use the wheat in a semi-circular motion like this, going around the fence post, and your cows will be bred. Now Minecraft has a rule that's known as entity cramming. Entity cramming means that only so many mobs can be on one block at a single time. If there are more mobs than the game allows, then the game will automatically get rid of some of the mobs. Now Minecraft is nice, and it chooses to kill the adults first, so the drops from the adults go into the chest down below. The babies live inside of this thing to grow up and then be bred again next time. It's all kind of evil. Now entity crammers are really easy to build. Start by digging 2 blocks down into the ground. Place a chest in the front block, and then place a hopper in the back one going into that chest. Make sure it goes into the chest, that is very important. Then place a temporary block next to your chest, and place an upside down staircase, could be any type of staircase, right above that chest. Now jump on the staircase, place some building blocks right back here, not stairs, building blocks. Then jump up one more time and place more building blocks, so you have something that looks like this. Then place your water bucket in the bottom of this thing, bottom block, and then place a block so you can get up and down. Now you need to go into the wild and find some mobs to get into this thing. I think for this one we'll go with sheep, since there seems to be a bunch of sheep near here. So you're coming with me. I definitely recommend starting with 1 mob. Like, just do 1 at a time, because if you bring 2, it'll get kind of difficult. This is the most difficult step. It's kind of annoying. So we've got our mob up here. Now we need to push this guy into the middle. It'll fit, trust me, but it can take some time. I got really lucky there. Bad example. So do it once, then do it a second time. You want at least 2 mobs inside of the thing to get it started. If you have more sheep in the area, you could put more in it, but you really only need 2. While you're pushing your mob into the center, definitely keep the food in hand so the mob stays locked onto you. If you take it out of your hand, it might stop carrying and walk away, and that'll be kind of frustrating. Once you get 2 mobs inside of the thing, place a temporary block on one of these sides, and then place a fence block right above the center. It can be a little tricky to do, but definitely doable.
I'll skip that.
That's it. That's the whole crusher farm. That's all you need to do. Go over to your super efficient crop farm, and then come back with all of the food that you need to breed your mobs and breed them. Now, it'll take a while to get started, but once you have enough mobs inside of this thing, every time you breed the mobs, loot will be put into the bottom. If you go with cows, you'll get beef and leather. If you go with sheep, you'll get wool and mutton. If you decide to go with pigs, well, you'll just get raw pork chops. So probably don't use pigs. From my personal experience, it seems to take about 22 to 24 weeks to
we're almost there. We're gonna go up.
So just keep that amount in mind. But there you go. That is farm number 4 today. So early game, usually you are trying to avoid all hostile mobs because they're just bad. They're not good. But maybe you're at a point in your world where you don't really want to avoid them anymore, but you're just not ready for the nighttime for some reason or whatever. Maybe you need some bones from the skeletons, maybe you need some string from the spiders. If that is the case, this is the farm for you. This thing is pretty much the easiest hostile mob farm in Minecraft. Now to build this thing, you will need 2 whole materials. You'll need a bunch of slabs, and you'll probably also want building blocks. Then you'll need to find somewhere that is flat and open in your world. You could build this on the surface like I did here, or if you're really smart, you could go all the way down to diamond level and clear out a room down there and not even need any slabs. You could just make a giant room. But digging out all of that space, that'll definitely take a lot more time. So figure out wherever you want to build this thing, then think about what mobs you'd like to farm from this thing. If you'd like to find Endermen inside of your farm, your ceiling will need to be 3 blocks up off the ground. If you don't want any Endermen, then do your ceiling 2 blocks up off the ground like this. If you hate spiders and you don't want to see any of those boys inside of the thing, then you'll need to place slabs on the ground in a pattern like this. They're spaced out every 2 blocks.
This cave's gonna be interesting.
All spider spawns. but allow for all other mob spawns like creepers, skeletons, and zombies. So figure out what kind of mob you want to farm, and then basically start building a giant platform in the sky, either 3 blocks up or 2 blocks up. Now, I don't have any particular dimensions that you want, but this one right here is 56 blocks long and 34 blocks deep. It's pretty big. Now, you don't need to build it that big, but if you build this farm too small, it will stay right underneath it, and that means no mobs will spawn. I mean, take a look at this corner over here. It's really bright, and no mobs are spawning at all. That's a problem. Mobs will only spawn towards the center of this thing, unless you decide to put a little more effort in and put a wall on this farm, which is something that I kind of just recommend doing. So take a look at this back corner. This one is really dark. Again, that corner over there where we just were, that's super bright. No mobs are spawning there. A bunch of mobs are spawning here. This side is clearly working better, and it's not because of the height, it's because of the walls. So if you can afford it, put some walls on the thing. If not, just make your platform really, really big. You'll know the thing is big and dark enough once you start seeing mobs spawning inside of it. Now, mobs won't spawn while you're right by it, so you'll probably need to build it, then walk away a little bit, and then come back and see if anything has spawned underneath it. Once it's big enough, you'll get something that kind of looks like this. I have lit up 0 caves under the surface too, so the rate's not too bad. Now, to use this thing, in survival mode, run over to it with probably some armor on and a sword. Now, it's up to you. If you're really brave, you can fight the mobs under there. If you're like me, then you can lure the mobs out into the daylight, let them burn up a little bit, and then land the final hit on them. But just be really careful. The zombies all have like this whole group mentality thing, and it's kind of annoying, kind of dangerous, so yeah, just be careful. This thing is kind of dangerous. If you're not skilled, I definitely don't recommend fighting creepers under this thing, because if you let them blow up, the ground is no longer flat, and the ceiling will probably have a hole in it that you'll have to fix. So you might be better off just luring creepers out into the sunlight. But if you need a hostile mob farm and you don't have too much, or you just don't want to put much effort into it, this is the way to go. And would you look at that? With that, that is our whole list today. Those are 5 must-have early game farms. You build these things in your world, and then you'll be off to a really good start. I hope you guys enjoyed this list video. If you did, let me know by dropping a like and subscribing if you haven't yet. There should be a brand new Minecraft guide episode out tomorrow, so keep your eyes out for that, and of course, keep your eyes out for more lists later this week. Thank you very much for watching. I'd like to send a big shout out to my patron Skelly Wampus today. Thank you for your support, Skelly, and I'll see all of you in the next video. Until next time, stay cool. Goodbye, everyone.
I can't get those yet. I'll be back for you. Just put this as a reminder. This one as a reminder. 87. 88. Oh my goodness. Bag. Bag.
Hey Bearleads, it's me, your guy Waddles. Welcome back to a fresh video. Redstone is a massive part of Minecraft. With redstone, about 1 million things can be done. Redstone is really, really cool. Today, redstone is the star of the show. In this video, we'll be checking out 5 simple, must-have redstone contraptions. All of the contraptions that we'll be taking a look at in today's video are either easy or intermediate to build, but are all insanely useful. What's your must-have redstone contraption? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to drop a like and subscribe for more. The first contraption in today's video is a tileable sugarcane or bamboo farm. With these boys built in your world, eventually you'll be stacked, fully stacked in fact, with sugarcane or bamboo. You can then take that sugarcane and make a bunch of paper, or take the bamboo and, I guess, plant it more because it looks beautiful. Now these machines are insanely compact. As you can see right here, they don't take up much space at all. Now, the materials. What do you need to build these things? Well, in exact amounts to build 1 tile of either your bamboo farm or your sugarcane farm, you will need these materials in exact amounts. Now, you will also need to decide if you'll be making a bamboo farm or a sugarcane farm. You should also probably have some extra building blocks on hand, and if you're doing a sugarcane farm, a water bucket and maybe something to waterlog, like staircases. Now, building one of these things is about as easy as it looks. Start by placing a chest on the ground, and then going into that chest, place a hopper. On top of that hopper, place a rail, and then place a minecart with a hopper. After that, you can then get rid of that rail, or you can keep it. It doesn't really matter. Now, place a few temporary building blocks and build up above this minecart with the hopper in it, and then place a plantable block. So a plantable block is something like dirt, coarse dirt. Those blocks will work beautifully. After that, place a building block and then another building block, then remove that first building block. Finally, place a piston facing forwards, an observer looking in the same direction as that piston, and then right behind that piston, a block and a redstone dust. That's it. That is the whole machine right there. Well, pretty much. Now plant whatever you're trying to grow on the plantable block, and then build building blocks all the way around this thing. If you skip the building blocks, your bamboo or your sugarcane will get thrown everywhere, and that will be a big problem. Remember to cover the top as well. You should end up with something that looks kind of like this. Now, I did say this is tileable. That means you can put this thing right next to each other as many times as you'd like. You can put 64 of these things in a line, and, well, you'd have a lot of bamboo or sugarcane. But that is contraption number 1. These are absolutely a must-have. With this next contraption built in your world, you can say goodbye to the disgusting, smelly zombie pigmen. With this thing built in your base, you will no longer find zombie pigmen inside of your base. This next one is another portal that can be turned on and off. So to turn this thing on, simply flick the on lever, and to turn it off, simply flick the off lever. Easy as that. You can disguise this thing however you'd like because the wiring is actually pretty compact. To build this toggleable nether portal, you will need these materials in exact amounts right here. Now, obsidian, you don't really need a stack. You just need enough obsidian to make a nether portal. So at the minimum, you'll need 10. Well, actually, that was kind of a lie. You'll need more than 10 obsidian for this nether portal because it needs to be a little bit bigger than the default minimum nether portal. Your nether portal for this build should be at least 3 blocks wide. Any more compact in will have to change the wiring up and it won't look as good. So, start with a nether portal that looks something like that. I have 3 wide, 4 tall, but the height doesn't matter at all. After that, place a temporary block, just like that, and then a dispenser. Then do the exact same thing on the other side. You should have a 1 block gap in between your dispensers at least, because if you don't, well, great, this guy. We'll see you around, wandering trader. Goodbye. If you don't leave the gap in between your dispensers, then your on switch will actually activate both dispensers, and your off switch will do the exact same thing. That is a big problem. So after placing your dispensers and definitely not skipping the corners, it's time to build 2 separate circuits. The first circuit that we'll build will turn this nether portal on. The on circuit is very easy to build. Start with a block placed right next to your nether portal and place a lever on that block. This lever will control the circuit. Behind that block with the lever on it, place 3 building blocks and then 3 redstone dust linking the lever right up to the dispenser. Inside of that dispenser, place a flint and steel. Again, hit the lever and it turns on. Now the off switch. The off switch is a little bit more tricky, but also not really at all. Start in the exact same way with a block and a lever. Then place 3 more blocks right behind that lever, going over towards the dispenser. Now this is where things switch up a little bit. Place 2 redstone dust this time, and then an observer, just like that. Now technically, you could skip the observer here and go for another redstone dust, but if you decide to do that, your water might end up spilling out all over your base, which is kind of a problem. So now we have this to turn the portal off, and this to turn the portal on. That is perfect. Now when using this thing, particularly the off switch, make sure you hit it twice, just like that, so the water is dispensed and then picked back up immediately. If you don't, water will spill everywhere. Technically, you could replace these with buttons, but again, the water spills everywhere, buttons are a little bit slower. That is how you build another portal that turns on and off.
Why am I hearing a skeleton?
Before we take a look at the next contraption, if you are enjoying the video, help your guy out by dropping a like and subscribing. I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's what I
Auto
want to
smelters
hear.
are a beautiful, beautiful thing. With these things built in your world, really worrying about smelting or standing by a furnace, that stuff is officially canceled. Now, an auto smelter is really, really easy to build. To build one of these things, you will need a furnace, 3 hoppers, and 3 chests. Now, you can use any furnace variant on this build, and you can use barrels and place some chests if you'd like. So grab those materials, then it's time to build your auto smelter. Start by placing a furnace somewhere. On top of that furnace, place a hopper going into it, and then a chest on top of that hopper. On either the left or the right of the furnace, place a hopper going into it, and then a chest again on top of that hopper. Finally, below the thing, a hopper and a chest. Now, your input for what you're trying to smelt will go in your top chest. The fuel will go in the chest that is either on the left or the right of this thing. Your output will be put in the bottom chest. So, let's say we started smelting, I don't know, iron inside of this thing. Once this iron smelts up, the ingot will instantly be moved to this bottom chest. So that's an auto smelter, but that's not actually the contraption for this one. This over here is the actual third machine. This is an auto smelter with a campfire alert beacon. As soon as the smelter is done smelting, the campfire will turn off. That means it's time to come back to your smelter and grab whatever you were trying to cook up. In my case, I'm cooking up pork chops. So I can throw things in my auto smelter over there, then walk over here and start punching the tree. As soon as the smoke goes away, I know that it's time to come back. Now the smoke is gone, so it's time to go back over there. My smelting is done. Now obviously, I could see that it turned off, but let's say you were somewhere where you couldn't see this thing turn off. Maybe you built this inside of a building. Then this would actually be pretty useful. Building this thing is actually pretty easy to do as well. You will need the materials in exact amounts inside of this chest right here. You'll also probably want to have some building blocks and maybe a hay bale to make your smoke signal go higher into the sky so you can see it from farther away. First things first, we need to build an auto smelter. We just talked about how to build one of those things, but start with a furnace, hopper below the furnace going into a chest, hopper next to the furnace with a chest on top of it, and then hopper above the furnace again with a chest on top of it. Now we have that. Now we need to set up this campfire alert beacon. Start by placing a building block, and a building block just like that. Then place an observer staring at your furnace, and coming out of that observer, place a repeater. Add a bunch of delay to that repeater. After that, place an observer staring at that repeater, and then a dispenser right behind that observer. Finally, place another dispenser right there, facing towards the same block that the first dispenser is looking at. Now, place a button on this front dispenser and a flint and steel inside of that one. On the back one, place a water bucket. In front of these dispensers, place a campfire. Grab two building blocks and place them here and here, and then a hay bale right below this thing, and boom, you're good to go. Now to use this thing, place whatever you're trying to smelt in the top, and then your fuel over on the left-hand chest. Then, your campfire will be extinguished. Before walking away, make sure you press this button so your campfire is relit. Then, you can go and do whatever you'd like to do. Once your smelting is done, the campfire will be put out, and that means it's time to come back and grab whatever you were smelting. This is a great furnace setup to have if you're trying to get more than one thing done at once. Sometimes you may find yourself with a bunch of trash in your world and no way to get rid of it. If that is ever the case, this is the contraption for you. This right here is a super simple trash can build. This thing will get rid of your items efficiently. It's a little bit noisy though. To build this trash can contraption, you will need these materials in exact amounts right here. You will also want to add some building blocks. To build the trash can, start by placing a trap chest. Below and behind that trap chest, you will need to place a dropper. Below that trap chest, going into the dropper, place a hopper. You should have something that looks just like this. Now we need to make this dropper fire as soon as it has something inside of it. To do that, we'll need an automatic dropper circuit. To build this automatic dropper circuit, go one block away and one block below the dropper and place a sticky piston. On top of that sticky piston, looking towards the dropper, place an observer. Then, place a random block and another observer looking towards this observer, but one block above it. Finally, place a comparator going towards the lower observer. Now put something inside of your dropper and watch it be dropped. Now to make the trash can actually work, we'll need something to get rid of our items. For us, we'll be using a cactus. So place a sand block one block away from your dropper and then a cactus on top of it. Finally, place some building blocks right around this thing so your items are actually shot into the cactus. Now place your trash inside the trap chest. Close the trap chest and this machine will begin throwing things away. If you make an accident, well, it's okay. If you're quick, you can pull it out of your trap chest or maybe even the hopper right below it. Again, this thing is a little noisy, but that's a small price to pay if you have lots of diorite in your world. I would like to send a big shout out to our guy Izumavoid for the automatic dropper circuit. I'll leave a link in the description. And so here we are at the final contraption. Now, remember the first contraption that I showed you, the bamboo farm? That is actually used in this one, but it's not the thing that I'm showing off. The thing that I'm showing off is actually below this farm. Over here, behind these blocks, is a circuit that will stop this minecart and unload it before letting it return on its path. This circuit is very, very useful for any farm that utilizes a hopper minecart for collecting drops. Now to build this minecart unloader, you will need these supplies right here. These are just building blocks. You don't need smooth quartz. I just like to lay my redstone on smooth quartz. You'll also probably want to have a hopper
Oh,
minecart and
okay,
some
that's-
sort of farm that this hopper